Additionally, we want to make sure that you've had a chance to provide any input on Family Academy sessions. We want to hear your voices so that we can foster new engagement strategies and provide any insights to the challenges that you might be facing with any family engagement and CMS in your specific communities so that we can continue to grow and strengthen together. One key role of the Title I Family Engagement Family Advisory Committee is to review policy SPENG, which is our Title I Family Engagement Policy. Each year, we review the policy as it exists and ask for our families to share feedback on any proposed changes. We're not able to remove anything from the policy, but we are able to edit, add, and strengthen based on the needs of our community. There is a feedback form that's been linked in today's slide deck and will be dropped into the chat. Once you're on this form, you can easily go review our CMS existing board policy to add any information or changes that you might have. It's broken down into a few different sections that are labeled by letter as you scroll. So as you read through, if there's any suggestions or proposed changes, please feel free to share that with us on our feedback form. This will be sent via email as well and shared within. We also have it within a translated document as needed. And at this time, I'm excited to turn it over so that we are able to learn all about school safety with our Director of School Safety, Mr. Martin Hugh.
All right, thank you. I was asked to share a little bit tonight about school safety in CMS and specifically some of the staffing that we have in place in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And so CMS is unique. We are one of 2 counties in North Carolina that maintains its own police department. So we do have the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Police, which is a department of over 200 team members, which includes a chief of police and deputy chief, police officers, detectives, our narcotics canine, unarmed campus security associates, and then a dispatch center. So that makes up the bulk of who our CMS police department is staffed by. There's 2 main roles that you interact with in the schools, or that students really interact with in the schools. The first is our school resource officers. So CMS Police, which is our small department, provides school resource officers at 12 K-8 and middle schools, as well as patrolling our elementary schools. Our elementary schools do not have full-time assigned school resource officers. They receive coverage from CMS police officers that patrol in the area. And we also have a team of 4 detectives and a canine officer. That canine officer serves CMS only and spends their time visiting schools to do drug searches in the schools. We also have our campus security associates. If you've been in schools, you're familiar with them in their blue shirts. They are unarmed security. They're assigned full-time to all middle schools, high schools, and K-8s. They also serve us security at shuttle stops, at extracurriculars such as dances and proms, and at athletic events. We then contract with some of the local agencies to provide school resource officers at the remaining K-8 middle and high schools. So we have full-time resource officers at all of our middle and high schools. We have some K-8s that have part-time officers. So through CMPD, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police, we contract for 60 officers. Huntersville contracts for 8, Matthews and Cornelius. And then we currently don't contract with Mint Hill, Davidson, and Pineville. Mint Hill schools are served by Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Police. Davidson and Pineville do provide an officer at the elementary schools, but we do not pay for them. That's something that the towns choose to do on their own. And then our department does help with traffic control. We have crossing guards that serve at 40 of our schools. There are city and county and state rules about where we can put crossing guards and the permits we have to get them. So we can't just put them at any school. There's a process. But we currently have crossing guards that serve 40 of our schools. And then we pay for off-duty police to be at 56 of our schools to provide traffic support. Now, just because we have those permits and we have the funding for that does not mean there's always an officer in those positions, because that's off duty. So we rely on our law enforcement partners to sign up for those jobs in their off duty hours. Some other information from us about drills and practice around safety. Going back to when we were all in school, we still do our fire drills, practice monthly. Those are unannounced. That has been the same routine following state law that has been there for almost, it seems like since we were kids. We also do security audits at schools twice a semester. Those will include lockdowns. Schools can do their own lockdown drills, but they will be put through the audit process at least twice, once each semester by the CMSPD security audit team. We required by state law to do a tornado drill yearly, which we will practice in March. And then all of our employees, in order to prepare for the various emergencies they may face, all of our employees attend an ABC of actor survival training that's led by detectives. They go through that every 2 years. And every one of our classroom has a go bag, which includes emergency supplies and basic first aid kit in the classroom setting. This year, we also introduced a new response protocol from a foundation called I Love You Guys Foundation. That foundation was founded by two parents who lost their daughter in a school shooting. The name comes from the text that she sent her parents during that active violence event. And so we adopted this protocol. It's been endorsed by the North Carolina Center for Safer Schools, and it is being implemented across counties across North Carolina. So we're not unique in this. The foundation provides something to us called the Standard Response Protocol. We implemented that with the goal of kind of standardizing and making our responses simple, both for students and staff, but also for parents to understand what's happening at the various schools. Standard response protocol is based on 5 actions. These are what we want students and staff to be very familiar with as far as what to do in these 5 situations. We have something called a hold, a secure, a lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. So this was a change for CMS. We tried to simplify the language, and it is also a very forward-facing event. I don't have the video in this, but on our CMS safety website and if you were to Google the I Love You Guys Foundation website, we have the training video that's been showed to students and staff. It's about 6 minutes long. Parents are encouraged to watch that to learn more about what these 5 actions are and when they could be used at a school and what that looks like in the school. There's also a parent guide on our CMS website that goes over the 5 different things and what parents need to know about the 5 different actions and when they'd potentially be implemented in a school. So those are the main things there. This sheet right now goes over again what students and staff should do during an emergency. If you spend time in schools, you should see this in the classroom areas posted throughout the school. Again, it goes through the 5 actions: the hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. And it's very specific on what students should do and what staff should do in these different situations. If you're curious about this, again, please visit the CMS safety website. If you Google I Love You Guys Foundation, it will take you to all their resources. All of their resources are posted on the internet. They're all, public facing. There's no secrets here. We want people to be familiar with our response protocols and what's going to happen in our schools. In addition to our response protocols, we have invested in our buildings and our infrastructure to increase our security standing and to harden our schools. We have secure entry points in all of our campuses that include buzz-in access, meaning that the staff has to grant a visitor access into the school when they come to the school. That gives us one layer of keeping any potential danger outside the school. We've invested heavily in upgrading our camera systems across our schools and on our school buses so that our common areas are covered with video camera systems that can be monitored in real time or can be referenced to after incidents if there's a need by the schools. Our new and renovated schools, so any school that's being built or that's being renovated through the bond process, will have secure vestibules added to them or will be part of the design. Those, again, help us secure the entry standpoint so that people are not trying to gain access to the school without being given permission. And then we currently use LobbyGuard visitor management system. If you come to visit a school, you should be asked to check in using LobbyGuard. LobbyGuard does screen against sex offender registries. That gives us a layer to make sure that anyone that's going to leave the front office that has potential to interact with students has been screened against those lists. We've also invested in the evolved weapon detection systems. If you've visited one of our middle schools, high schools, or KH, you've probably seen these or attended athletic events. The evolved weapon detection systems are in place at all of our comprehensive high school, middle school, and KH campuses. CMS is one of a number of school districts in North Carolina that has implemented these. They're AI-based. They are the same systems that you'll see if you go to the Panthers Stadium or the Hornets Arena or Atrium Hospital, as well as concert venues. Any place like that around Charlotte, they become very common. And so we have these in our schools for students to pass through as they enter the school in the morning as a layer to try to keep weapons out of our schools. Like anything, it's not perfect, but they are an important layer to our infrastructure to try to keep weapons and things that don't belong in school out of schools. And then the final thing I wanted to lift up was the Sandy Hook Promise Say Something Anonymous reporting system. We have the Sandy Hook Promise Say Something Anonymous reporting system in all of our schools. We begin training in fourth grade, but any student or parent or community member can access the Sandy Hook Promise website. If they Google Say Something, there's a button on all of our school websites, as well as the homepage for CMS with a link to this. There's an app that students could download or families could download if they choose to, but it provides a way to provide an anonymous tip both about violence, about inappropriate items on school grounds, about bullying, cyberbullying, self-harm, any number of concerning areas students can submit through Say Something. It is monitored 24 hours a day by the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. There's a live dispatch center that gets those tips and decides on next actions. And so students can submit these tips at any point during the school day. The school will obviously intervene and be part of that. And the after hours, if there's a life safety concern, the police or the appropriate fire department or medic will be dispatched to that situation as well. So the Say Something is not just for our students. Any community member can use that. And the access is on our school website, or by simply Googling Say Something, you'll find the ability to use this anonymous reporting system. And so that's the main part of our presentation about school safety and the school CMS Police Department. You can find more information on the school website, as well as our contact information, and you can submit any questions to us through the feedback or using the school website. There's a link to respond with questions.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing such a high-level overview of all the different ways that our school system works to keep our families safe. And at this time, families will go ahead and if there are any questions on the call, we can go ahead and take those for a moment before we move on to our next section. If there are no questions at this time, please feel free to follow up using that question link that Mark shared. And we are excited to transition to our principal spotlight. On tonight's call, we have Principal Hager and Principal Thompson, who will be sharing some key information as we transition into the end of the school year and move through winter break and begin the second semester. Thank you so much for joining.
Good evening, families. This is Ms. Haker. Very happy to be here this evening to share a couple of tips that I have from the middle school perspective.
Yeah, and I'm Jared Thompson, principal of Mallard Creek High School. I'm also excited to join you all this evening, and good to see you, Tracy. Yeah, thanks for having us.
We are glad you are here. We're excited to have the perspective of our middle school leaders and our high school leaders on this evening's call as we support our families. And just to get us going with our community conversation as experts and leaders in the field, how can our families help our students stay engaged academically during the holiday season? We know we are coming up on a big break, one of our biggest of the year.
Yes, I'm happy to start. I'm sure you have lots of great ideas, Principal Thompson. But one thing that I would say is during the holiday break, definitely from the middle school perspective, just keeping those routines in place. We know that we have 2 weeks, out of school, but the opportunity to really just kind of keep those structures that you have. Like, I know you want to let them relax and, you may be traveling, but still just making sure that they don't get so far off the schedule where now they want to stay up the whole night and sleep the whole day, because best believe January 5th is going to be right around the corner, and then you'll have to get right back into it. And I would also recommend, whatever you're doing at home, just kind of keeping them engaged with some reading, math when you're out shopping, and maybe just outside in the real world, making some connections. You're at the gas station, you see some decimals, some fractions, but wherever you could continue to make those connections, because believe you me, it matters. And you'd be surprised, like when they're in a classroom and they're interacting with word problems, you'd be surprised at the things that they are being exposed to in the classroom that we do as adults on a daily basis. So that's what I would recommend in terms of the holiday. But you do want to make sure you give them some time to relax and disconnect. But again, don't get too far where, again, the routines are so they're broken up so badly that by the time they get back, they're falling asleep in class when they come back January 5th.
Yeah, and those are all excellent suggestions. I think definitely keeping a light routine is extremely important, and that could be even you all as the parents supporting. Like I know you all have dedicated time in your English classes or in middle school, your language arts classes, to sit down and ensure that they have something to read that is either relevant to them or can reinforce the unit of study that they're on prior to break, even if it's just 20 minutes. Really dedicated and honoring a set amount of time where they're detached from technology, because even my children at home are much more apt to be on their technology during winter breaks and summer breaks, more so into their compared to their daily routine at school. So dictating that 20 minutes of time to just read, and it's a bonus if they self-select something that's really meaningful or relevant to them. Doesn't really matter what it is. I would only add, like in my home, proper fractions and measurements are something that sometimes gets lost on myself when I attempt to cook in the holiday season. So like math factoring, that's a K-12 skill. We Math 3 students, juniors in high school, have to get sometimes some embedded skill development or retouching on factoring. So like when you're cooking for your holiday recipes, you're traveling, you're taking that extra minute or two along the way, if you're cooking as a family or with a child, to explain fractions, measurements. If you're traveling to see family, taking a moment to call out a piece of history that may be significant to that city. Of course, we have tons here in the Charlotte area, but having that internal dialogue that you have of let me reinforce this skill because I know they talk about that at school. It does go an incredibly long way. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that in the moment with our children at home, and they may not vocalize that, oh, that's connected to Miss Hager's class in my school. They probably won't jump out and just say that, but it's certainly never lost on them when you can bring in those academic, educational conversations centered around your holiday traditions.
Absolutely. I heard so much interwovenness going to the grocery stores, cooking recipes. Great tips,
Right.
so applicable and wonderful to just apply and stay engaged. And with that in mind, I also heard some of the technology and, there's a lot going on this time of year. Sometimes our students do start feeling a lot more stressed and anxious. We know the end of the semester is coming. A lot of big assessments are coming up. So from your perspective and leadership, how can we be supporting our students at home with those feelings of stress and anxiety this season?
I'll start this one, Tracy, and we can ping pong back and forth. I think like it's similar to the first question of creating a schedule, like creating predictability in the home goes a long way. Those self-reflective questions of sometimes when we get on these breaks, even we as adults, even winter break out, you can end the day and you're on the go, either prepping for your holiday traditions or doing a lot of things around the house. It's really not abnormal for students to feel tired in that moment, but vocalizing, oh, you seem really tired. You've been at home all day, or we've been out and about running errands or seeing families. Talk about how this compares this holiday season or this break compared to your daily school routine. Like, do you feel more tired? Why do you feel that is? And that dialogue and having a space where you're opening up with your children, similar to how we try to incorporate those SEL lessons here in the schoolhouse, that also goes a long way. But I do think, I think all these questions could center in on predictability and building routines so that our students don't just tweak wholeheartedly the consistency that's usually embedded into like our weekly routines during the exact school year.
Wow,
Thank you.
I love that. I'm sorry, somebody gonna ask a question?
No, I was just going to say thank you for sharing. And with that, I was going to highlight, we had one of our families highlight a book club with friends over break would be a great little opportunity to include. So yes, absolutely. Thank you. Great suggestions. And Principal Hager, throwing it to you.
I know, right? That's a tough act to follow, Jared. But I would definitely just kind of expand a little bit more in terms of spending time with your children and asking them those questions about their day. And sometimes I feel like as a mom, I have to invite myself into my daughter's space. Like I can't wait for them to come to me. So sometimes it might mean, going in their bedroom and just kind of let's cut the TV off and take the earphones out and let's just talk, and making sure that you are aware of the things that maybe they're looking at on their devices, because there's so much going on social media that I feel like it is hard to disconnect. But I do feel like sometimes as the parents, we just have to kind of take control and ask them the tough questions, about things that they may be worried or concerned about. I do know that I think a good book, sometimes reading a book together, audiobooks work very well for me and my family because you can always put an audiobook on in a car, and sometimes it really opens up for some really, really good conversations. And lastly, I would mention in middle school, we do capturing kids' hearts. And that has been a huge game changer. And there's a family resource. So if you have a middle schooler, please ask them about capturing kids' hearts. They have a lot of good conversation starters, things to talk about, like when you're having dinner, things you could talk about when you're traveling, just some things that I know definitely as a parent I may struggle with. And it's hard for me to maybe ask the right questions without going over the top. But they definitely give some really good tips about how to have some of those check-ins with our children at home.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion by Tiffany North in the chat, a book club. Like we want the students to be really invested in what they're reading, like they'll be more engaged. And those texts kind of vary K-12, right? But yeah, if a family can come together, or a friend or a neighborhood group to say, hey, let's all read this book over, great. I mean, that is one of the biggest wins that you could possibly draw up as a family for your child. And then simply following up with those basics, even if you're not reading the same book, the academic language we use in school is usually similar to what is used in the home. It's, hey, where's that story take place? And who's the main character? And wait, who's the antagonist in all this? Or tell me what it's about. Simply having that back and forth conversation, whether it's pre-K, like my son comes home and we try to decipher the stories that he's reading from that media center checkout he gets so excited about, or if it's AP Lit for our senior students, like those same questions are K-12 relevant.
Absolutely. It's all about that connection and that communication and community that surrounds us learning and growing. Absolutely. And so with that in mind, we have all these, we're gearing up for the winter break. There's so much momentum as we go into winter break. And we know we come back and there's so much for our students. As families, what can we do to set our students up for success as we return in the new year?
And Jared, I could start with this one. So I would say when they come back from winter break, because at that point we are definitely probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks off from the end of second quarter. So we're just coming off of a benchmark window and sending home the reports regarding how they performed, which is the MVPA benchmark test. And in that report, there are lots of tips and things for families to do at home. We're also big on iReady, and iReady also has many, many resources to for families to support their children at home. But the main thing is being in communication with the teacher. We use Parent Square across the district. Parent Square is a great way to stay in communication with the teacher. When in doubt, you could always set up a time to meet with the teacher, and or the teachers, and talk about where the child is in the classroom. What are some things that you could do at home to support? But I can't say enough how important it is to stay connected, attend any type of events that they're having at school. We have a lot of curriculum nights. Sometimes they're focused more on a content area, but as much as time allows, I know a lot of schools are taking advantage of doing things virtually as well. And that also has been a huge game changer for our families. But the main thing I would say there, once again, is just staying connected and asking the questions about how your scholar is doing and what you could do at home to support your child.
Yeah, absolutely. I think winter break always comes at a time where it's built in around the holiday season, whereas a lot of time at home, and it's a perfect time to sit down and kind of goal set or build in some reflection. We usually, as adults and families, and in the holiday season or approaching New Year's, either we're doing resolutions or we're talking about next year's budget or things we want to do differently in the new year. And I think that's really applicable to the school setting as well. For our high school students and semester long classes, we come back and we essentially only have, I believe it's 7 instructional days prior to the final exams beginning. So we have this big gap in instruction happening. So for our high school students and semester long classes, it's carving out a little bit of time, talking about those routines of, hey, it's 30 minutes where I'm going to study for my Math 1 final that's quickly going to come after winter break. And most of our high school students kind of know exactly where they stand in those classes because we're at progress reports this week for our second quarter, similar to middle school. But it's really kind of crunch time for them to not have that huge gap in the thought process around the content that they're learning. So some embedded time to review that because finals will quickly approach. But then if it's year-long classes in a K-8 setting where you've taken those benchmarks and you're not even yet reached the end of the second quarter, it could just be a mid-year reflection on what's going well in the class. If I'm hitting a particular class where I don't have the grade that I want, or I'm not having the experience I want, kind of carving out time to facilitate that conversation as a family to say, well, why is that? What can I do better as a student to help my grade, to help my engagement within the class? Or I'm going to write down 3 questions to ask my teacher when I do return from winter break that I didn't get to ask prior, or setting up a conference or sending that email to say, hey, I want to talk to you right after class before my electives. Like, that's a perfect time to sit down and kind of go class by class or teacher by teacher to say, all right, how do I want to approach the new year differently after I have this kind of break to pause, catch my breath, and see exactly where I'm at.
Absolutely. Great advice, great input for how we just come back, reset, and fresh for that second half of the year. And with that in mind, is there anything our families need to be aware of as they approach the second semester? Any big changes or registrations or any timelines that we should highlight?
The high school timeline, I would definitely call out because it is, we are in this school year, calendar here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And there's a conversation at the state level that just doesn't impact us this year. And so we do have that break before removed from the content that's going to quickly be assessed right after you get back. For our high school students, primarily, I would always say, I tell the teachers this and our administrators just the same, it is a very early start time. So some of our high school students are getting on the bus at 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. You really can't go into winter break sleeping into 9 or 10 all the way until January 5th. and expect to quickly pick up that routine of waking up at 5 a.m. now. So I would always tell our families at Mallard Creek and even our staff that don't totally lose your nighttime and morning routines, because you don't want that transition to take a kind of a 3 or 4 day fog that first week back to kind of get back in the swing of things. In the high school world, there's just not 3 or 4 days to lose and to slowly get into the new year because of those exams that are quickly approaching. So is the bedtimes and the nighttime routines, do they get back to where they are right now? That 3 or 4 days prior to that Monday when we return, I think it's January 5th, 6th. January 5th. So am I going into New Year's Eve and that weekend prior with the same exact routines that I have right now, because I'm probably in a better flow than coming out of winter break. Yeah, accountability partners, family and friends. Yeah, if our students see us up watching TV and staying up late, at least my child, they really want to sit beside us on the couch and do the exact same way. So like us getting into our routines, like what are we doing this week, the first week of December, how does that mimic transitioning back into school in January, where they see us abiding by our own routines in the household too, of, okay, well, holidays were great. This was refreshing. We got to reflect, but now I see that I need to start getting back to the habits that I know I'm going to have to abide by to make sure I'm getting the proper rest, carving out time for my academic work. Like all that's really important around that New Year's Eve time at the latest to make sure it's 3 or 4 days of consistency so that Monday comes and there's not a shock to the system, so to speak.
Yeah, I love those suggestions. And definitely I'm already thinking in my head, because as much as I'm looking forward to the winter break, those 2 weeks again will go by quickly. So I do agree with you 100% that definitely as the adults, we definitely need to model and help our young people get there. The only thing I would say in middle school that we would be looking forward to when we come back is students will start being able to have the opportunity to select their electives. And so with the Infinite Campus, which I know has been a process for all of us and getting acclimated and adjusted, but looking out for however the school is going to ask you for the students to start thinking about, are they interested more in health, PE, world languages, whatever options they have, but being aware that that communication most likely will be shared through Parent Square. So getting our young people to start thinking about the 20, because that would be the 26, 27 school year. And that even sounds strange, but oddly enough, when we come back in middle school, we'll be getting geared up for third quarter, and we know it is really halftime. And before you know it, I always feel like the second semester, that third quarter goes by very quickly, and before you know it, we are talking about end of grade exams. So just kind of being on the lookout, staying connected. Once again, I can't say that enough. With the school, with the teachers, asking the questions. I love, Jared, your suggestion about our young people, because I'm always talking about our young people empowering themselves and knowing their data. Again, we just came off a huge benchmark in middle school with our fall benchmark assessments. And the questions I'm asking my young people is, do you know your data? Do you know where you are in your English? Do you know where you are in your math? And I feel like even for families at home, when you're connected with the school and you're asking the same type of questions, I know they'll be like, how do you know that I just took that assessment? So ask them the hard questions. And if you're stuck, don't hesitate in reaching out to the schools. We have amazing counselors, social workers who are glad to help you out with any next steps that you're needing.
Wonderful. And that really, families, we're about to move into our last question. If you have any questions for our principals, please feel free to add them to the chat while we have our principals here. But Principal Hager, I think you really just might have tapped into it a little bit. For our families, as we return to the school year, how is it best for us to stay connected with our school? Make sure that we have the most up-to-date information. Is there any steps that our families should take to make sure that they are all squared away?
Were you asking a question of us?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. For us, if you have a change in phone number, if you say, I'm not getting any communication from the school, I've had many families say, I never get your parent square. I don't even know what you're talking about. We're glad to help. We have data managers who are more than willing to make sure that you can access all of the things, whether it's Infinite Campus, which is a great place for you to check your child's attendance. You see grades, and that's the beauty of it. It houses everything in there. But again, if you're ever stuck, or again, you move, change your address, change your phone numbers, or if you're just not sure, please call the school.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say Infinite Campus Access. There's a lot of power in because that is that transparent window into your child's performance in the classrooms, and really having that information in front of you can help drive the conversations with your students of, okay, well, here's your class where you have the lowest grade. Let's talk about some things that you would want to do differently in the new year to improve that grade. But to be honest, just as important is celebrating the success they're having. So, if a student's not having a great quarter, picking out the bright spots. What's the class where they have the highest grade in, or they're doing well, or what about that class, or what makes you perform so well in that class compared to your others? Let's talk about that. What would you keep doing in that class to ensure that that remains that A or B? Because we don't want that grade to slip while we focus on maybe course correcting on some other classes along the way. So the celebrating the success they've had and ensuring that they keep on that trajectory, and then for the classes that they may not be performing their best in or just want to improve, or maybe that's been a subject where they haven't been as confident in the past, what are a few things that we want to reflect on and goal set for the new year? But having that Infinite Campus Access allows you and the family and the household to all sit down, look at the exact same information, and it kind of can facilitate the discussion class by class for you. As the break begins, I would always encourage families that you may not want to wait until Sunday right before school starts back in the new year to say, okay, well, what were the assignments that I need to catch up on? Sometimes the best reflection can happen almost immediately as the break begins, and you're writing down your goals and you're missing assignments that you listing zeros in Infinite Campus. That way, as the holiday season progresses and we're meeting with family and we're having a lot of fun and we're relaxing as we absolutely should, we take time to say that maybe we can revisit some of the goals and reflection items that we wrote down at the beginning of break, maybe that last weekend before school starts, just to re-jog our memory and kind of recenter ourselves on the goals and discussions that we had possibly at the beginning of the break.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for setting us up for insight. We do have a few family questions right now. Miss Ella Moe, if you would like to unmute and ask your question.
Yes. Oh, okay. I don't know if this is the right place to ask, and I sorry for I late to join. I don't know if this is the right place to ask. My daughter is like she in fifth grade right now, so she gonna be middle school next year. So and we're not sure that we're gonna move to. So I don't know, did I need to choose the school or the school gonna be, transfer her automatically?
I'll answer that if you want me. So that's a great question. So in the spring and this after the new year, I don't know the exact date, but in the early spring, every family will receive a letter in the address that we currently have on file for the student assignment for your school next year. So since you're changing schools and going from 5th grade up to middle school, that'll be a reassignment letter to the school that is in that home attendance boundary. So you'll get a letter notification from the school, and you could also call the main office at that time if you feel like the letter didn't make your home, and you call the counselor of your child and ask that, because every school has provided a transition list. So for instance, 8th grade students that are coming to Mallard Creek, we are provided a transition list in the spring that shows all the students whose home address would have them come to Mallard Creek for their high school years.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions on the call? Ms. Jackson, I am replying in chat. Ms. Jackson, did you have a second question?
No, I'm sorry. That was my question. Thank you for your reply.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is there any other questions on this evening's call? Well, a big special thank you to our two fabulous principal presenters who have been able to share their time and experience with us this evening. Thank you so much to Principal Hager and Principal Thompson for taking the time to engage in dialogue and share your expertise with our families. I know that as I move into the winter break, I'm a lot more confident of those actionable next steps, even just talking at a grocery store or going over those fractions and family recipes, easy applicable items. So thank you both to our spotlight principals this evening. And we hope that you stay engaged with your local principal families for any additional support that you might need. And at this time, I'm going to invite Ms. Kelly Sapp from Atrium Health, who's going to share an overview about our Meaningful Medicine program within CMS.
Thank you so much, Molly, and really good guidance in the earlier conversations. And in the spirit of resources, we just wanted to share with you, there's a program called Meaningful Medicine, which started in 2022. It's a partnership between Atrium and CMS and was funded through a grant from Bank of America. But essentially, it's bringing health and emotional wellness access to students. It's at CMS on campus during school hours. And it also is a supporting sort of a career pathway for some of our high school students that are interested in the health sciences and health-related career opportunities. And so at about 115 of the CMS locations that we do have this school-based virtual care, which is telemedicine, available to our students and, of course, our staff as well when they're not feeling well at school. This is a really great resource, especially and convenient for parents as well if they want to virtually come into the telemedicine sort of doctor appointment. They don't have to leave work. They can virtual in, or they can come to the school during the appointment. And it treats a lot of different things. Obviously, if the child is not contagious and it's a non-contagious screening, they can go back into the classroom, get whatever they need taken care of. Or if they are contagious, obviously they would go home. The doctor typically can write a prescription and the parent can pick it up on the way home. So it's just a really nice resource. We've had about 11,000 students and staff so far participate in this particular resource. We also have school-based virtual therapy to help support our students at 32 schools with their emotional wellness. And to date, we've seen around 1,000 students for that particular resource. We also have the 3 career programs for the high school students that are interested in health sciences. And 2 of them are one of them is for sophomore and juniors. The other is for seniors, and the internship there is, I believe, a paid internship through the summer. And then finally, the other career program is post-graduation for students who are sort of completed some other health science related activities and now want to go into certain things like nursing or CNA. So Atrium Health Foundation, this is a great program. It's such a wonderful partnership between CMS and our community members. And as families, obviously, they do have some community virtual sites as well for the telemedicine option at the YMCA, at CPCC. So if you're a family member and it's during the summer or your child can't get to school, there is some other community opportunities as well. So thank you so much, Molly, for the opportunity to share this resource. And for families, I would welcome you to go out to the CMS website. If you go under families and then health and wellness, you'll be able to see that there's a click through to Meaningful Medicine, and it'll give you all the information that you need.
Thank you so much for sharing. It is a fabulous program that really helps our students stay healthy at school and stay in school throughout the school year. I did want to take a moment to highlight a few additional resources. I do see that we have a few questions in the chat for our principals.
Hello.
Yes, sorry. If you would like to unmute and share your question, Ms. Gonzalez.
Hi, this is her child Eric speaking right now.
Mhm.
I'm really curious if I still have an option to like change high school so I can apply to a different one.
The school choice transfer window is still open, I believe. Let me verify the date for that for you. But yes, if the school choice transfer window is open, Principal Thompson, please jump in if you have a quick say for that. But for school choice for the lottery program, they're able to apply.
Yes, and I would also need to see when exactly that deadline was. I believe the school choice lottery was there. At least the first one I saw was until December 5th was to input your selections into that CMS choice lottery. However, I may not be privy to the most up-to-date information if that was extended or the second round. Mallard Creek is a comprehensive high school, like a neighborhood high school, so we did not have a magnet theme. So I'm not exactly well versed into all the lottery information.
I was going to say, I
Absolutely.
know as an IB middle school, that first date that you called out, December 5th, which was
Mhm.
Friday, was at 11:59, was the last day, but you know how things work. So I would definitely, and you could always call and reach out. I haven't heard about an extension as of yet, but I know in the
Okay.
past, I feel like there have been opportunities even after the deadline to still apply.
Thank you. And the best department to connect with would be our school choice team. If you have any questions, you can submit a Let's Talk ticket and ask that question directly to that team, and they will respond using the email address that you share within that ticket. So definitely reach out to the school choice team with that question to get the most accurate and up-to-date answer.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And PJ, did you have a question?
Yes, I did have a question, and I'm not sure if the principals can answer this. It was actually for the very first presenter when they were discussing the say something, see something, say something.
Mhm.
So I have a high schooler, and the portal is not very user friendly. At times, they don't have their cell phones at her high school. So I was just wondering, what is the time frame if something is entered into the See Something, Say Something portal? I know that you said that it is manned by Sandy Hook administrators. How soon will it get to, I guess, the high school of the student that is putting it into the portal?
It's fairly quick, and if it's an urgent matter, so the Sandy Hook Center, the resources and the, I guess, operators, for lack of a better term, that receive all the anonymous tips. They will quickly identify the severity of the anonymous tip that's entered. Now, anything that has an immediate threat to the child, wherever their location may be, whether it's at the home or at school, if there's an urgent need for student safety, it immediately gets blasted out to all the administrators, the school resource officer of that campus, district officials. So a lot of times when we've had to investigate even an unsubstantiated post ad or a social media posting after hours or on a Saturday night, we'll get those say something tips immediately, all hours of the day. And then CMPD also has a direct line to that platform through our school resource officers. And CMPD will also have that information. So say it's a Saturday evening, for instance, even they could do a welfare check at that home address. The school officials would just collaborate with their SRO to give that demographic, like the address of that student or something that we may to be look into. Now, we will still get pretty timely notifications if it's a lower rated item. Say it's I'm having difficulty with I'm a new student and I don't feel welcomed in this school, for instance. Like while that may not have like an immediate emergency like e-blast to our phones, that'll go in our queue, and all the administrators that are on the safety team at a particular school will get that information. And usually it's at least at our school, if it's a ninth grade student, our ninth grade administrator or that student's counselor by Alpha would be that first point of contact with the child. But it isn't a tremendous amount of lag time regardless of the severity of the tip.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And even though they may not have their phones, they can also make anonymous tip using their CMS devices within the school. So if they need to report something, to say something, I believe it's at the bottom of the school websites or the CMS page as well. They don't have to have their phones. They can do it through their school issued Chromebook as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great questions. We did have a question in the chat regarding family resources, and I just wanted to highlight it. The question was if there are still tutoring hours being offered through Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. Yes, those hours are still available. They were highlighted by the library this semester. I'll follow up to, if you're having trouble with them, please feel free to reach out directly and we can try to help you problem solve. I'm not seeing any additional questions, families, at this time. If you have any additional questions after today's call, please feel free to follow up with via email or the Let's Talk platform, and we are always happy to support and connect with you. I wanted to highlight a few additional resources this evening before the end of our call, including our family portal. This has newly been launched this year, and it is our one-stop shop for family-facing resources. It's been added to all of our CMS homepages as well as our school websites, and it takes all of the great resources that CMS has to offer and organizes them in a very user-friendly and up-to-date way for our families to navigate. I know that you'll be receiving your MBPA report soon, different assessments. Please feel free to check out any resources or supports using the assessment pathway or searching by your student's grade level. Additionally, we have our CMS Family Academy where we're able to share resources and sessions live with our families. We do have webinars every Thursday at 12 p.m. for Lunch and Learns. If you would be interested in joining us this week, we'll be joined by our student wellness team who will be sharing around recoloring the holiday blues. It will have great information about just best practices as we navigate this holiday season. As we move back in through January, we'll also have additional sessions focused on attendance and the importance of school and those high impact strategies to stay engaged, followed by online safety. Really, what does it mean as families to navigate digital citizenship and AI for our students and our families? And towards the end of January, on January 22nd, we'll be reviewing assessment insights. That will be an overview of how to understand those assessment reports that are coming home and what you can do as a parent once you receive those to continue to support that learning. We have 2 remaining Title I Advisory Committee sessions on March 26th and April 27th. We'll share updates as we get closer to those times, but we hope that you are able to connect and join us on those dates. And families, thank you so much for joining us. We know it is busy at 6 p.m. For all of our families to come, log in and connect, but we appreciate your dialogue and your connection as we've been able to engage with Mark Mahue from School Safety, learn all about I Love You Guys, connect with our spotlight principals over how to support during this time of year, and highlight some of those great resources to keep us safe and healthy at school. If you did not have a chance to sign into today's session, I will add it one more time to the chat, and as well as any feedback for our Title I policy. We would love to engage and make sure that we have heard your voices as families. But at this time, we will be saying good evening, and we hope that everyone has a safe and wonderful rest of their evening and week as we approach the winter break. Thank you so much, and we hope that everyone's safe.
Thank you, everybody, and the 2 principals. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. McCaffrey.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. All right, I will close it for everyone. Have a great night.